Stephen, with this fight being the most highly anticipated fight in recent memory, do you expect to break records with against Gervonta and Tank and Ryan Garcia?
I think it could be in the ballpark. That was a fantastic fight that got a lot of momentum, but it takes a little bit of luck. Sometimes you don't know exactly how big a fight is until you get to fight week. I mean, you put out all the marketing, you do all the strategic things that you think are going to work, and then sometimes there's just an element of it where things catch fire and it sort of spreads. I like the time of year that we're in. In July, it's pretty quiet. There's not a whole lot of other competition. I think there'll be a lot of coverage, a lot of visibility for this event. These are two fighters that don't have the social media profile that Tank and Ryan did, but there's a lot other ways to generate visibility and marketing for the event.
And I'm not saying for this fight specifically, but in general, most fights are held on Saturdays, and sometimes, you got boxing fans with 2-3 devices trying to watch everything. Has a consideration been like, hey, maybe not the big pay-per-view fights, but like the smaller fight, maybe put it on a Friday, Sunday, Thursday, Wednesday, whereas you're not as crowded with other boxing channels? Has that been talked about at all?
Yeah, it has been, and I think it's worth testing. And certainly it's something that historically has happened in the past. Some of the biggest fights, some of the Sugar Ray Leonard fights, on Mondays, for example. So the reality is, it's worth exploring, but it's easy for me to say because I'm not the promoter with money at risk. So it's sort of like, okay, maybe it is with a mid-level pay-per-view that it makes sense that. Excuse me. Thank you. That you don't do it with something where there's a ton of risk, because it's tough to say, hey, let's take a big fight and see if it works on Monday. It's easy for me to say when my money's not at risk.
Now, this fight is like kind of like the culmination of the Terence Crawford, Errol Spence generation, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. How big do you see their possible move to 154, whoever wins the fight, against if Jermell Charlo's successful against Zoo? How big do you see that fight?
Look, I think, I think it's a very strong possibility. Errol has talked about it. Bud has talked about it. Thurman has talked about it. Danny's already done it. So, look, that continues, and that's where we get some of these other rivalries to continue. It makes a lot of sense to me.